And welcome to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. It is a huge day for the Los Angeles Rams, but it's probably not what you think. Big news coming out of Rams camp as they are opening officially training camp with all the veterans and the rookies all together, and they are making huge news this afternoon, and we've got it right here on your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. I'm Pep Fernandez, joined by Jeff Gorham and Greg Holla, of course, and Jeff, you know, all these NFL teams are reporting to training camp, including the Rams down there at UC Irvine. We're all anxiously awaiting news on Aaron Donald. They had a big announcement today, but it wasn't Aaron Donald. It had to do with Todd Gurley, a new 4-year extension, $60 million. They're locking up Gurley for the next 6 years. So 2 more years on this deal, 4 years on the extension. Jeff, this is Todd Gurley's prime, and probably, maybe outside of Tom Brady, the best player offensively in football from last season.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a great sign for the Rams. They're going to get a running back, a franchise running back that will last as they open that new stadium, that beautiful new stadium in Los Angeles. He's going to be in his prime, and I'll tell you what, you couldn't be happier if you're the Rams. I don't think the distraction, though, is with Aaron Donald. I think that something will get done. I don't think it's a distraction in the locker room. The Rams have shown that they are forking over the dough for these young players. I'll tell you what, you got to be happy if you're a Ram fan because they're locking up their studs for years to come.
Yeah, and we've talked so much about the guaranteed money. There's guaranteed money in a bunch of other sports. The NFL's finally starting to catch on a little bit. $45 million of the 60 is guaranteed for Todd Gurley, and we know running backs, their window of their prime in the NFL isn't as large as let's say a quarterback. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He's 40 plus years old and he's still going strong. Running backs have a very small window. And it looks like the Rams are going to see the very best of Todd Gurley. They're going to get him in his prime for the next 6 years. So that's through the 2023 season. So that's big news for the LA Rams. He had the most yards from scrimmage in the NFL last season, Jeff. And if maybe outside of Tom Brady, he was probably the best offensive player in all of football last year. Now the Rams have locked him up, and they still got that core of Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and now Brandon Cooks, who they also gave a new contract to. They're going to be loaded for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Todd Gurley's numbers. There wasn't a running back that had a better year than Todd Gurley than Herschel Walker, which was nearly 30 years ago, Pep. In fact, it'll be 30 years this year. Nobody's had a better year at running back. He had a lackadaisical first year in Los Angeles as they were kind of getting their bearings going. But I'll tell you what, last year I thought he was the best offensive player in football, and the Rams, like I said, couldn't be happier. They're heading in the right direction. It seems like they're making all the right moves with their coaching staff, with the players, these long-term deals. They're spending money, and I think it's because they're going to have an enormous, beautiful stadium. It's going to be the home of the NFL. It's going to be the home of the Rams. And I'll tell you what, you couldn't be more excited if you, like I said, if you're a Rams fan today.
Yeah, and Jeff, you make a great point about that new stadium. You only get one chance to make a first impression. So you're building this new stadium. You're going to want to sell season tickets. I mean, that's where you really make the most of your money is with season tickets. If the Rams are a winning team and they put together several years in a row of winning seasons, competing for the NFC West title, getting to the playoffs, Super Bowl, conversation, all those things, and you've got young stars like Jared Goff and Todd Gurley, you're going to sell season tickets. Fans come out to see players. Fans come out to see winning teams. If the Rams have all of that in place from a business decision, it's going to make opening up that new stadium very profitable for the Rams, and I think that's exactly what they see. Now, when they moved from St. Louis, it was a disaster. I mean, that was their first impression, their first, a homecoming back to Southern California, and it blew up in their face. I think they've learned from that. They know the new stadium is on the way, and they have to get it right. And locking up guys like Todd Gurley is the first piece you got to do. Jared Goff will be next.
Yeah, and I think the Rams have really taken the model from the Lakers, from the Dodgers, and even maybe down the road from the Angels. They're locking up their superstars. They seem to be doing it without, ruffling any feathers. The biggest question I have out there is what they're going to do with Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL. It doesn't seem like it's a distraction now. In fact, both sides have said, hey, we are going to try to work this thing out before training camp opens. Well, training camp opened today, like you said, but we're not hearing any rumblings or grumblings from Aaron Donald's camp, and we're hearing nothing from the Rams. He's entering his final year of his rookie deal. It's his fifth-year option. He's making almost $7 million a year. I don't think the Rams will go and tag him to a year-to-year basis. I think they're going to give him a long-term deal because I'll tell you what, when you have Goff, Donald, and Gurley in the fold for the next several years opening that stadium, you got to be excited. You have to be excited to be a Rams fan.
And, Jeff, I'm glad you brought that up with Aaron Donald because the big news, obviously, today was Todd Gurley, 4-year extension, $60 million. But the general manager of the Rams, Les Snead, he came out and spoke to the media. It's like, hey, we got exciting news. We can't wait to tell you guys all about this. A lot of people assumed it was going to be Aaron Donald, and it wasn't. It was Todd Gurley, which is great. They got to lock up Gurley. But naturally, the media was going to ask the Aaron Donald questions as well. It's like, wow, you just, you brought in all these free agents, you made some trades, you locked in Brandon Cooks, you locked in Todd Gurley now. What about Aaron Donald? So in our next segment, we're going to continue this conversation about NFL training camps because people want to know, what's up with Aaron Donald? Are we going to see him? He was expecting to be here at the start of training camp. That was according to sources from his camp, from his people. He's still not there. And Les Snead today talked about the Aaron Donald situation. He shed some new light on it, and we're going to get to that in our next segment. But Jeff, you got to get Aaron Donald in there. I know he sat out all of last preseason, and he was still great. Still the best player in the NFL defensively. But, man, you really need him from the get-go, from the start. Let him go through training camp with the other new additions to the defensive side of the football for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the fearsome foursome. We're talking about 11 guys on the defensive side of the ball that are amazing. I don't know what you call them, but you got to show up the best defender in football. And honestly, I think maybe if the Rams, maybe their thoughts were to sign Todd Gurley today to give him his day in glory instead of pairing him up with another great player. Maybe they're going to do this tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be like it was last year where Donald came into camp after the season had started. I think they're going to get him in early enough that he can work in with those 10 other defenders.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out with the Rams and Aaron Donald. And again, we will let you know what Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, had to say about this whole situation. And when you put Aaron Donald next to Ndamukong Suh, my own nickname for them is the Gruesome Twosome. You heard it here first. We're brought to you by Spoiled Quick Quality Oil Change. You can spoil yourself in your car every 3,000 or 5,000 miles. Everybody, you got to get your oil changed. We all know that. You don't want to break down when it's like 110 degrees outside. You go to Spoiled, and they offer so much beyond just getting the oil change. They're the best at that, but they can do a lot more for your car as well. Go to Spoiled. It's off of Alessandro Boulevard, off the 215 freeway between Riverside and Moreno Valley. They've got the best customer service, and we're not just saying that. They do. They're going to do it with a smile. They do it like a NASCAR pit crew. They get you in, they get you out, and that's why you are spoiled. Spoiled. Quick, quality oil change. All right, we'll talk more Rams in the next segment and NFL training camp because that's the big thing now. NFL training camps are underway. But to the NBA, Jeff, and let's just touch on this quickly. The Cavaliers, they've got their guy, their next superstar, and they didn't have to look very far. They locked up Kevin Love, a 4-year contract, $120 million for Kevin Love. I don't know if he's going to be the same guy that he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves because when he was at the T-Wolves, man, dare I say, he was one of the top 5 players in the NBA, but now the Cavaliers are really going to say, you're our guy, Kevin. We're going to build around you now. How good are the Cavaliers with Kevin Love as the premier player now?
Well, I still think that they're a middle-of-the-pack team in the East. Unless they get somebody through trades or somebody wants to go there as a free agent, it's kind of tough to get guys to go to Cleveland to play basketball. But we know that Kevin Love, though, is a superstar when he is healthy. He's had hand issues the last few years. He's had knee issues. You only hope that he will continue to stay healthy and finish his career, because essentially that's what they're doing, is they're paying Kevin Love to finish his career in Cleveland. I just hope they can get somebody to surround him, because right now the surrounding parts are a bunch of ding-dongs, and you hope that, he was a scapegoat. Remember, he was a scapegoat to a lot of the problems.
Everyone blamed Kevin Love.
Well, they can't blame him anymore. He's going to be the face of the franchise, and you got to hope that he can return to form like he did in Minnesota and showed promises and parts in Cleveland.
All right, so Kevin Love, a big new contract. And there's also new news on Kawhi Leonard. We're going to talk about it later in the show, because more organizations, more people are starting to separate themselves from Kawhi Leonard, for better or for worse. I know he's not a big marketing endorsement guy, but I think this whole dilemma with him in the San Antonio Spurs and wanting to be traded, forcing his way out of San Antonio, it's really hurt his image, and now he's actually going to be losing money. So we're going to talk about that later in the show, but more news on Kawhi Leonard. We're also going to talk later in the show about Cal Baptist basketball. Yesterday, we were, privy to some exclusive interview with Coach Rick Croy as we unveiled the 2018-2019 schedule, the first Division I schedule for the Lancers. And Jeff, they're going to be in the WAC. We saw several teams from the WAC last season as we traveled with the UC Riverside men's basketball team. So later in the show, we're going to talk about CBU versus the other teams in the WAC. And long story short, they're going to be competitive.
Yeah, they're going to be competitive. And I'll tell you what, Rick Croy said it yesterday. The 14th best conference in the country is the WAC conference. And looking over some of these teams, hey, they had 4 teams with 20 wins or more. So that tells you that these teams they're not playing, walkovers. They're playing very good teams. Cal Baptist is going to step right into the fire against some of the best teams in the country. We're talking about Cal State Bakersfield, who was just 2 years removed from the tournament. They finished 6th in that WAC conference. That tells you how tough it is. But I think CBU, with their new arena, the guys that Coach Croy is going to bring in, I think they will compete. The question is, are they going to be at the top of the conference? Are they going to be in the middle? Or are they going to start from the bottom, being that they're a new D1 program?
That's a good question. We're going to find out real quick. Great schedule for the Lancers. If you missed the interview with Coach Croy, it's on our Inland Sports YouTube channel right now. You can go check that out, and make sure you hit that subscribe button for us on the channel. Now to baseball as we complete our Inland Sports headlines. Dodgers, big win against the Phillies last night, 7-6. Chase Utley got the start as he made his homecoming back to Philadelphia. Again, it's a farewell tour for the Silver Fox, Chase Utley. He did go 0 for 4, but didn't matter. Dodgers still win by 1. Max Muncy, Jock Peterson, Chris Taylor, Yasmani Grandal, they all hit homers. The Dodgers are swinging a great bat right now, and they're not even at full strength. When this team completely comes together, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out in terms of playing time, who's going to be starting where, because your boy JT, Justin Turner, just went to the 10-day disabled list. He's got a strained groin that he was trying to battle through. And Jeff, Yasiel Puig has that strained oblique. They're hoping to see him at the back end of this week against the Atlanta Braves. But Yasiel Puig hasn't been in the lineup. JT won't be in the lineup for a little bit. So they're still kind of patching things together, and they still have a ton of offense. Ton of guys. I mean, plenty of guys on this team can swing the bat. They've got a lot of power. Once they're all healthy, that's going to be very interesting to see how Dave Roberts is going to put this thing together.
Yeah, and they really snuck one. You mentioned those 4 home runs. They were all solo shots. They get away with a 7-6 win over Philly. But I'll tell you what, like you said, they are hitting the ball, but they're not getting enough guys on base to where it should have been an 11-6 win or a 12-6 win. They're hitting home runs. The guys are hitting, for power, but I'd love to see more guys getting on base in scoring position and getting those runs production, maybe 10, 11, 12 runs every game, because guys are hitting the ball.
Yeah, they're all hitting the ball. That is probably the deepest order maybe in all of baseball. I know some of those American League teams could probably make an argument that their lineups are better, but right now, top to bottom, wow, the Dodgers can hit. There's no doubt about it, and they're not even at full strength right now. Meanwhile, the Halos, they lost 5-3 against the White Sox last night at the Big A. Those are the games you got to win. You got to beat the White Sox. They're not one of the better teams in baseball. If you're going to even stay in the hunt and even stay with, get a sniff of Oakland and Seattle. You got to win those games. They did not allow Mike Trout to swing the bat much. He was walked 4 times. He's the one guy they said, we're not going to let you hurt us, and they lost 5-3 last night. One other baseball note real quick before we wrap up our opening segment here on the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. A shout out to Brian Ducey. He's the head baseball coach at Redlands East Valley. Now, Jeff, I know you know this. The San Bernardino is the hub for the Little League West and Northwest Regional. So everyone comes to San Bernardino. Teams, all-star Little League teams from all across the West Coast, Hawaii, Alaska, Montana, Washington, Oregon. Everybody comes here to San Bernardino. If you win, you go to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. You play for the Little League World Series Championship. Well, we got a team from Idaho, from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And it's got local connections to the Inland Empire. Well, Brian Ducey and his Redlands East Valley program has stepped up to lend a bunch of equipment to the All-Stars from Coeur d'Alene and Idaho, so that way they don't have to travel all that distance. Because, traveling with all that gear, it probably adds up. You know how it is. We traveled a lot. You got to pay for extra bags when you're flying. They're going to save a lot of money and probably a lot of hassle because Brian Ducey is stepping up at Rev and helping out these kids from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the whole Ducey family, remember his father is the basketball coach at the University of Redlands. He's been with the program. He coached tennis. He coached everything at the University of Redlands. They've been a big staple in the community, and that doesn't surprise me. That's a great family, a great core, and great values from University of Redlands passed down to his son. I'll tell you what, you couldn't ask for a cooler story than that.
The Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM is proudly brought to you by Ken Sporting Goods. More than 40 years in the IE, providing you with all of your sporting gear needs. So the next time you need equipment for your son or your daughter, or maybe for the entire team, they can hook it up. They've got all the sports equipment. They can do uniforms, hats, jerseys for your team or your company or business. And, of course, they can do Letterman's jackets. That's Ken Sporting Goods. KenSportingGoods.com is the website, and then you can visit them out there in Norco, Horsetown, USA, off the 15 freeway right off of Hamner. Jeff, when we come back here on the Inland Sports Show, we'll talk more about the NFL training camps because I know you Rams fans, you're dying to hear what Les Snead had to say about the Aaron Donald situation. Is he coming back soon? The GM talked about it, and we'll break it down next on your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM.
Focus on the customer here. Believe it or not, that is the biggest thing for customers on an oil change. They just want the convenience of coming in, driving in, getting it done, and driving out. Just greet them, get them going, and they're done in about 10 minutes or so. We don't push any sales on them. We do the oil change, and I think that's what sets us apart is our customer service. Vacuumed and cleaned your windshield for you as well. everything's looking pretty good. You come into us one time, believe me, we'll spoil you and you'll be ready to come back the next time.
We're a small family-owned, strive for quality pre-owned vehicles. We're not a volume dealer, and we take every deal as personal to us. We're a low-stress environment. We're not a pressure sales house. If you want to shop us, you're more than welcome to shop us. We have, like I said, great rates, competitive financing, a lot of one-owner, clean Carfax, clean title vehicles. As you see, we have Carfax everywhere. That's most important to us, to educate our customers before they make a purchase. We're right off of Ontario, right off a couple exits off the 15 freeway, off Cajelco, off El Cerrito, and we're right on the main drag going into Dos Logos and the Crossings. We have great financing, we have great lenders that we're using. We do buy, sell, trade, cash for your car. Whatever we need to do to help accommodate the customer, that's what we're here for. We have a little bit of everything. We start at about $69.95 and go all the way up to $100,000. We have Escalades, we have commuters, we have pickup trucks, we have Jeeps, sport utilities, and if we don't have it, our specialty is finding you exactly what you're looking for.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. This segment's brought to you by Boost Performance Training in Corona with Coach Ray Bass. They've got an Athlete of the Month out there at Boost Performance Training. Big shout out to Kyler Wong, their Boost Athlete of the Month, working hard out there. You could be working hard at Boost Performance Training as well. The fall season is right around the corner. If you're a football player, a volleyball player, they do all sports. But the fall season's right around the corner. Be ready for your season. Have a big season. Be explosive. Be dynamic. go to Boost. BoostTrainingsystems.com is the website, and follow Boost Performance Training on Instagram and Twitter for sure. All right, Jeff, let's talk more about these NFL training camps, because almost everyone's going to get it cracking later this week, and if not even today. Even the Rams are reporting today, all the veterans along with the rookies at UC Irvine. The big news, and we talked about it right off the top of the show, was Todd Gurley, the running back, being locked in with a 4-year extension. So that's 6 years now that he'll be an LA Ram through the 2023 season. And that's exactly the same time frame as Brandon Cooks. So the Rams know what they're doing in terms of the big picture and keeping all these offensive weapons together. That's offensively, Jeff. Defensively, the huge question mark that everyone's still talking about is, where is Aaron Donald? Everyone's getting money except Aaron Donald. What do you think about that?
Well, I just think they're going to shore him up because he is the best player in football. There's no contentious relationship between the Rams and Aaron Donald. There is nothing but love and happiness from what we've heard. Last year, he sat out of training camp. It didn't affect his playing because he was the best player defensively in the NFL. I think, honestly, today they wanted to shore up Todd Gurley, and they're going to give him his day in the limelight. And I would expect, and I hope, that the Aaron Donald thing is taken care of here shortly, within the next few days, because you'd love to see him in training camp. Because, man, they were 11-5 last year, first in the NFC West, and they're expected to do the same thing this year. In fact, to better that defensive line, that defensive secondary is probably the best we've seen in the NFL in a very long time. I think the Rams are going to take care of this. They took care of Gurley, and now I think they're going to take care of Donald.
Well, we can hope so. So we'll see what happens. Of course, we touched on it in the opening segment that the first year in Los Angeles just kind of blew up in their face. It was not a good year. The fans weren't coming out. It was a losing team. Everyone was questioning Jared Goff. Lo and behold, year number 2, the Rams turn a corner in a big way. They win the division. They make the playoffs. It was an early exit against the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs, but still, it was a great season for LA. Now in year number 3 in Los Angeles, you have all the pieces in place. Sean McVay is a rising star in terms of coaching. Everyone is there except Aaron Donald. And of course, with Todd Gurley, the big news today about the extension, Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, was going to talk about Todd Gurley, but you can't dodge all the questions regarding Aaron Donald. So you're up there, you want to talk about Todd Gurley, how excited you are to keep him around for the next 6 seasons. But of course, you're going to have to say something about Aaron Donald, because that is the elephant in the room right now for the Rams. And here's what Les Snead had to say, quote, "Each situation is different. Different players, different agents. You work on everything simultaneously, but you really don't know when you're going to get something done or not, because it's case by case." So he's kind of comparing it to, this new Todd Gurley contract and why Aaron Donald does not have a new contract with the Rams. He went on to say this, quote, "We're simultaneously working to make Aaron a Ram a long time. That's the goal. I know we'll get a lot of questions about him, but Aaron's a big part of who we are and where we want to go. But I think the details and all of that, I think we're going to continue the course of keeping them in-house. We're going to continue working to get something done with Aaron." So, Jeff, he said a lot without saying really anything. He wants Aaron on the team. He's an important part of the team, but all of the details in terms of the discussion they've had to create a new contract for Aaron Donald, it's going to be in-house. We're not going to know about it until they want to come out and make a big announcement like they did for Todd Gurley. We're not going to know anything. They could be far apart right now. They could be really close. We just don't know.
Well, Pep, I'll tell you what, I could be jumping off a limb here, but there's another running back right now that was trying to set the bar of making the most money he can, and that's Le'Veon Bell.
You're right.
Remember, he's sitting out. I mean, what better move if you're the GM and the owner of the Rams to sign Todd Gurley to commit to the Rams before Le'Veon Bell sets the bar? And I'll tell you what, his $15 million average on this 4-year, $60 million extension is the most at his position. And it will be slightly more than Bell will make because, remember, he's franchise tagged at $14.5 million. And I'll tell you, it's a great signing if you're the Rams, because I'll tell you what, if Le'Veon Bell would have signed an extension and it would have been more, Todd Gurley's a better player than Le'Veon Bell. You might have had to dig deeper into the pocketbook to get Todd Gurley to commit to the Rams. I'll tell you what, Todd Gurley, just by signing today, passed his idol, Adrian Peterson, for the most guaranteed money in a single contract. It's between $45 and $36 million. That's the highest average salary in the NFL at $15 million, and drops down to $14.38
for a running back, right? For a running back.
For a running back, yes. That is I mean, I think that's why they signed him now, because I think Le'Veon Bell wanted to set that bar a little higher. But a great sign and great move by the Rams.
And, maybe we can flip the conversation and say, Le'Veon Bell was waiting to see. I don't know if he knew, or maybe they share the same agent. Maybe he knew something was afoot with Todd Gurley, and they wanted to see what Todd Gurley was going to do first, because maybe in Le'Veon Bell's camp they think, we're better than Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley had one good year, but, I'm better. I can get more money. Maybe they're waiting for him to set the bar, but Todd Gurley's locked in. We do know that. Le'Veon Bell is not with the Steelers. But back to the Rams and Aaron Donald, they could be really close, Jeff. Aaron Donald could report to camp tomorrow and the deal could be done, or they could be far apart. We have Les Snead gave us nothing, really. He just said, of course we want Aaron Donald. Yeah, we're continuing the course to try to make the contract happen. He didn't say something is imminent. We feel really good. We've been sitting down with Aaron Donald and his people. We're really close. He didn't say any of that. So I have to lean towards the more negative approach, I guess, on this, and say that they might be farther apart than we really think right now. It's kind of peculiar that they're throwing around all this money to Gurley and Cooks and, in the big offseason with the other acquisitions, but they haven't really made a move on Aaron Donald. I'm not quite sure why that is exactly, but I have the feeling that they're probably a little bit farther apart than they are close to making something officially done in terms of a contract.
Well, you remember the Rams only had $2.9 million in the coffer before they went over the salary cap. Well, they definitely went over the salary cap today, and they're definitely they have to give Aaron Donald the contract he deserves. He deserves to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL, and it could come with the luxury tax of the Rams. But I think the Rams, like you said earlier, are looking at a bigger picture. Those season seats, if you sell out that new stadium and you have people in the seats every single game, that luxury tax won't matter, because the Rams are going to make money hand over fist.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on Aaron Donald, how this is all going to play out at Rams camp, and that's the big story, maybe as early as tomorrow, because the story today is Todd Gurley signing the extension. He got the limelight, but of course Les Snead had to answer questions about Aaron Donald. So the Rams are fully in camp at UC Irvine. The Chargers will be fully in camp Friday, and then Saturday will probably be their first on-field practice down there in Costa Mesa. Jeff, I think the big difference from last year is for the Chargers, they were still in the move from San Diego to Los Angeles last year. In fact, they still had their mini camps were in San Diego last spring before they officially moved to LA. So they were still in this transition process. And I don't want to, be overly dramatic and say, oh, it's so tough to move. But it is. I mean, look at the Rams. We saw the Rams move from St. Louis to L.A., and that first year, it was a mess. I think that the Chargers they're home. They've unpacked all their things. They're in year 2. They had some momentum at the end of last year. I think there's only upside if you're a Chargers fan. I'm not even a Chargers fan. I'm a Niner fan, but if I was a Charger fan, I would feel very optimistic. The battle for LA is on. I have heard some people talking about a Rams-Chargers potential Super Bowl because they're in love with both these Los Angeles teams now because they both look like they're on the rise and Phillip Rivers is still in his prime. If you're a Chargers fan, you've got to love what's going on right now. And year 2, they are more established. Like I said, they're moved in. They've unpacked all their boxes. Everything's put away. They're ready to get to work for an entire season now in L.A.
Well, yeah, remember the Chargers last year, people were talking, they weren't a well-received team in Los Angeles. They had a hard time selling the seats. in that small stadium down in Carson, but they were still 9-7, Pep. And if you recall, they had kicking issues early in the season. They could have very easily been 12-4. This Chargers team is phenomenal. They have and people might call me crazy, but I'll tell you, Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Anybody that says he's not, look at Dan Faust. Dan Faust didn't win championships. He's in the Hall of Fame, and we're talking about Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers threw for over 4,500 yards last year. He's still in his prime. They have Melvin Gordon, a pretty good running back. My biggest question is, how are they going to replace the tight end? And that's the problem. Is Antonio Gates going to return? What are they going to do to fill that hole? Because he was a stud for years with the Chargers.
Yeah, Hunter Henry went down in one of the mini camps with an ACL injury, and there was talks about Antonio Gates possibly coming back to the Chargers because of the lack of players at tight end, because Hunter Henry is going to be done for the season. But I don't know. I think the Chargers saw what was left in the gas tank for Antonio Gates at the end of last season and probably figured it would be better to go with a young guy, maybe a little more, less proven, but give him a chance to prove himself when an opportunity arises like this one with Hunter Henry going down for the season with the ACL from minicamp. So that's the Chargers and the Rams. We got the Raiders opening camp tomorrow, so their first official practice will likely be on the field Thursday. And then the 49ers, their opening camp today up there in Santa Clara, and they will likely have their first on-field practice as a team tomorrow. So all the California teams ready to get things cracking here, and of course the Rams at Irvine, the Chargers at Costa Mesa. And Jeff, you said you might head out there to Costa Mesa on Saturday.
I was thinking about taking my boys out there. It'd be a nice morning to go watch a little football. My kids can see how big these monsters are at the NFL level. We might go down, check out the Chargers in the morning, go to the Disneyland in the afternoon, make a day of it.
Can't beat that. Chargers and Disney all in one day. The best day ever. All right, we come back here on the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. We're going to talk about two things. In fact, we're probably going to spread this over a couple segments here, but we've got UC Riverside men's basketball schedule. Yesterday we had Cal Baptist. Now we have UCR's schedule. We're going to unveil it to the public for the very first time. We know exactly who the Highlanders will be playing this season. We're also going to talk about the fact that, Jeff, we saw many of the schools from the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, the conference that CBU is going into. We've seen a lot of those teams. We're going to gauge where we think CBU might fit into the WAC this upcoming season now that we know the entire season for the Lancers as well. So we'll talk UCR and CBU hoops when we come back. It's the one and only Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM.
Thank God, first of all. I thank the great people that I've got around me that help support me. As I started, if it wasn't for the people around me, we probably wouldn't be here right now, but I've got a great staff. I've got great people that do stuff for us outside, and we've been very, very fortunate. Our service is impeccable, and we just keep trying to get better every year. We can do online stuff for your teams, as well as, like I said, the screen printing, the embroidery. We also have 3 women that do extra sewing for us, like tackle tool on uniforms, or the bling or rhinestones for different shirts for the ladies. That's why we have certain racks just for certain schools, and the fun about that is that to other schools that may come in here that aren't as close, that we can do stuff for them as well. We've had very, very good customers throughout the years, and it's just been a blast.
How you guys doing? Coach Bass here with Boost Training. We're here at the BPC and it's summertime. we have another boost training tip for you. This tip goes out to all the football players. You spent the entire offseason getting strong, putting on weight, getting bigger. Now it's time to make that sports specific and turn it into power. So these next few tips are gonna show you exactly how to do that. Let's check it out. Okay, so our first tip of the day is what's called a depth jump. This is a great drill to turn strength into power that you want to hit as you start getting closer to the season for an off-season football player. So what Cruz is going to do, he's going to take a quick step off the box. He's going to hit the ground as quickly as possible, get up, elevate, and he's going to land on the higher set of boxes here. All right, he's going to have his hips flexed, arms extended. He's going to hold that for a second. He's going to step back down. Here we go, Cruz. Let's hit it. Get up. Nice. Wants to hold that position for a second. Take a nice and easy step down. Depth jump. Great drill to maximize power. There you have it. Now we just showed you guys a depth jump. Now, one of the things that you can do to progress that and really take it to the next level, you can either elevate the 18-inch box here, all right, or we can elevate the landing box, all right? And remember, the goal here is to minimize ground contact and have a great counter movement, meaning when we hit the ground, we want to bring our arms through, all right? So just one of the things that you can do to make this more difficult and to maximize all those power gains. So that's our boost training tip of the day. Thanks for checking us out again. And make sure you stay up to date with everything that's Boost. Check our schedules, check our videos at our website at www.boosttrainingsystems.com. Check out our Twitter at boost_training and our Instagram at boosttraining. Grind hard, stay solid.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. Jeff Gorham, Greg Holla, I'm Pep Fernandez. We're live and amplified every single day from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on the local sports leader, the Inland Sports Show. And we're brought to you by Catalano Motors in Corona, off of Temescal Canyon Road. You can buy, you can trade, and of course you can finance. They try to make it very easy for you, and they're trying to save you money as well. That's what we do on the Inland Sports Show, trying to put money back in your pocket. So you're going to save thousands already on the weekly specials at Catalano Motors. Right now, when you mention the Inland Sports Show, you can save $500. It's only at Catalano Motors, and it's only with the Inland Sports Show. You save $500. It's CatalanoCars.com. That is the website. Go check it out. And then get on over to the car lot. It's off Temescal Canyon Road in Corona. It's Catalano Motors, our favorite place. We love you, Catalano Motors. All right, let's talk UCR and Cal Baptist hoops because, Jeff, in a weird sort of way, they're kind of all wrapped in together. We're talking about the WAC. We're talking about the Big West. We're talking about common opponents. We're talking about the big CBU versus UCR game slated for November 29th. Whether you like it or not, I feel like CBU and UCR are kind of going to go hand in hand for a while as we talk college basketball for this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You and I had a chance to see a few WAC teams last year, Utah Valley, Grand Canyon, and Seattle University. And I'll tell you what, Pep, that was two. I mean, I was able to see Utah Valley and Seattle, and versus UC Riverside last year, they put up, Utah Valley put up 10 three-pointers in just the first half, and then they go up to Seattle 2 days later, and Seattle puts up 13 threes, so 23 three-pointers in the first half of play versus UC Riverside. I saw firsthand how good the WAC conference is. The WAC conference with New Mexico State, Utah Valley, Grand Canyon, and Seattle, all with 20-plus wins on the year. Man, Cal Baptist is going into the fire of playing against a lion's share of studs.
Yeah, we did see some of those WAC schools. Let's not leave out Cal State Bakersfield. Of course, I'm bringing it up, the Bakersfield guy. But, I covered the Roadrunners for 8 seasons. Jeff, there are some similarities between what Cal State Bakersfield and UCR and what CBU is doing right now, making that transition from Division II to the Division I level. I covered Cal State Bakersfield as they did that transition. They went through a process where you're not eligible for the postseason in Division I. It's a 5-year transition process. But at the end of it, we saw, 2 years ago, Bakersfield made it to the NCAA tournament, the first time Cal State Bakersfield has ever been to the Big Dance, and they drew, I think it was Oklahoma in the opening round, and they almost beat the Sooners. So if you're thinking, oh man, a team that's new to the Division I level, how fast, how quickly can they get to the Big Dance? Is it really is it a real possibility to make the NCAA tournament? I'm telling you it is. UCR's gone through the process. Cal Baptist is doing it now. It can really happen. It's going to happen for a team in the WAC. Why not CBU in a couple of years?
Well, yeah, it's going to take 4 years before CBU is eligible for postseason. But I'll tell you what, they can build upon each year, get better and better. And I'll tell you what, when they are eligible to play in the NCAA tournament, Coach Croy, we know he can recruit. He's going to recruit guys, though, that will give them the best opportunity to win at that level. If you bring students into CBU and you show them that event center, I'll tell you what, 9 out of 10 kids that are going to come in and look at that facility, look at the school, 9 out of 10 are going to pick Coach Croy and that facility. And I'll tell you what, we're going to look at Coach Croy recruiting guys that are being recruited by UCLA, USC, San Diego State, all of the big names up and down the West Coast. He's going to get some of those guys, and I'll tell you what, within a couple of years, we could see Cal Baptist with some stellar, big-time Division I players and could be in the mix for a WAC championship without being postseason eligible.
I saw UC Riverside play at Grand Canyon. That's another WAC school. And I think, Jeff, and I hope I'm being fair here, I think if you're going to look across the Division I landscape and even closer to home inside the WAC conference, if you're going to look at a place that might be similar to Cal Baptist, I think Grand Canyon might be the most similar looking school in terms of, they're Christian centered. They've got wild fans. I mean, the home games at Grand Canyon are unbelievable. I know there's great other places at, Cameron Indoor for Duke. Stanford had, some, great fans up there in their heyday. All these different places. There's crazy fans everywhere, but there's something special about Grand Canyon University. Maybe they're not a high-profile Division I program, but the kids there on campus, they bought in. They've got a local star in Dan Marley. It's nuts. I think if there's something out there that's going to look similar to CBU at the Division I level, I think Grand Canyon might be it. So if you're wondering, give it a Google, search it, see what it's all about, because I think once CBU starts bringing in these Division I teams, like we talked about, like Cal State Northridge, they're coming to town. UC Irvine's coming to town. When you get these schools coming to Riverside to play them, and you've already got your CBU crazies coming to the games, I think it's going to feel like a truly a basketball environment. Things that you see, when the Duke Blue Devils play in some of these other basketball-rich environments that we see with some of the top programs in the country.
Well, you mentioned Grand Canyon, and I'm going to tell you this, Pep. I've seen a lot of games. I've seen Duke at Duke. I've been to Cameron Indoor Stadium, but I'll tell you what, there's nothing like watching a game at Grand Canyon. You saw it firsthand. The craziest fans in the country. And just looking down the WAC teams, and, I was able to see Seattle. Seattle University used to play in the old, I guess, where the Seattle Supersonics used to play.
Yeah, the Key Arena.
They used to play Key Arena, but I talked to their head coach when I was up there this year, and he said the best decision they made was moving their home court advantage from Key Arena down to the gym on campus. I'll tell you what, the gym is no bigger than the gym I coached at Norte Vista High School, but it had a sense, like you said, at Grand Canyon, where it was nuts and a very tough place to play. That can be said across the board. Utah Valley, rabid fans, New Mexico State. There's nothing else to do in Las Cruces, New Mexico, so people go to the games. I can't speak for, Rio Grande Valley or Chicago State, but Bakersfield, Seattle, Grand Canyon, Utah Valley, New Mexico State are tough places to play. Cal Baptist has their hands full, but I'll tell you what, if I'm any of those teams, I would be scared to come into Riverside and play in that beautiful new arena.
Yeah, I think CBU is going to be a tough place to play. I think they're going to have a distinct home court advantage with the fans. They're already really good. They hardly ever lose on their home floor. But, you add in the fans, you add in the new arena, it's going to be tough. And that's a great point you made with Seattle, going from a big arena like Key Arena, going back on campus where the students are, because you want the students to come out and have that great student section, right? They're going to be loud. They're going to be wild. They're going to be wearing wacky clothes and holding up signs. You want the whole deal. Bakersfield did the same thing. There's a big 9,000-seat arena downtown where the minor league teams play, the professional sports teams, but they brought the teams back on campus, and I think it really helps because there's something to be said when you can have a strong student section. I think that's what UCR is looking for. CBU's got it. Now they're going to fill up that new event center. That's what UCR is going for because that gives you that home court advantage, and I've seen it firsthand. Bakersfield did it. They were successful. Seattle's doing it. Seattle's pretty good too. And when you look at the WAC, Jeff, Grand Canyon, Utah Valley, Seattle, those are some of the best teams that we saw all season long. But if I'm going to hazard to make a guess and go out on a limb, I think CBU is going to be right there based on the returning players that the Lancers have and the guys that Rick Croy is going to bring in. You could say it for basketball, you could say it for softball, you could say it for volleyball, baseball, whatever it is. CBU is going to be competitive from the very get-go. There's not going to be a learning curve. It's not like, oh, man, they only won one game this year. It's not going to be like that. CBU is already built to win in the WAC. We've seen the WAC. We've seen these different schools. They're built to win now. Now, they're not postseason eligible, but they can still finish in first place in conference play.
Yeah, and like I said, Coach Croy is one of the best coaches around. He has been at the Division I level before. He was an assistant at St. Mary's. He was a head coach at Citrus College, where they won the state championship, and he knows how to recruit because a lot of Division I coaches came out of his gym to get his players, and he did the same at UC Riverside during the transition from Division I or Division II to Division I, and then when he was at St. Mary's. He can recruit, and he will bring in guys. I'm excited to watch Cal Baptist next year, not 4 years from now, but next year.
All right, well, we broke the news yesterday that Cal Baptist will be playing at UC Riverside on November 29th. That's a Thursday night at the SRC. Jeff and I will be there courtside. We are fired up about it. When we come back on the Inland Sports Show, we'll take a look at the entire UCR men's basketball schedule. We've hinted at a couple games here and there. The CBU game, they're playing Life Pacific and our good friend Tim Cook. But we're going to look at the entire schedule for the Highlanders when we come back on the one and only Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM.
Thank God, first of all. I thank the great people that I've got around me that help support me, the people that work for me. As I started, if it wasn't for the people around me, we probably wouldn't be here right now, but I've got a great staff. I've got great people that do stuff for us outside the store, and we've been very, very fortunate. Our service is impeccable, and we just keep trying to get better every year. We can do online stuff for your teams, as well as, like I said, the screen printing, the embroidery. We also have 3 women that do extra sewing for us, like tackle tool on uniforms, or the bling or rhinestones for different shirts for the ladies. That's why we have certain racks just for certain schools, and the fun about that is that it turns into other schools that may come in here that aren't as close, that we can do stuff for them as well. We've had very, very good customers throughout the years, and it's just been a blast.
Focus on the customer here. Believe it or not, that is the biggest thing for customers on an oil change. They just want the convenience of coming in, driving in, getting it done, and driving out. Just greet them, get them going, and they're done in about 10 minutes or so. We don't push any sales on them. We do the oil change, and I think that's what sets us apart is our customer service. Vacuumed and cleaned your windshield for you as well. Everything's looking pretty good. Come into us one time, believe me, we'll spoil you and you'll be ready to come back the next time.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. We're brought to you by Spoiled Quick Quality Oil Change. Every 3,000 or 5,000 miles, do yourself a favor. Feel better about yourself and your entire life. Go to Spoiled Quick Quality Oil Change. Get the oil change in your vehicle. They can do all sorts of other things as well. And listen, they do the wiper blades. They get a mint, a flower for the ladies. They hook it up. You're going to spoil it. They're going to spoil you. You're going to enjoy your experience, not only for you, but also your car. And that's what really matters, because it's hot out there, whether you're deep in the desert like I am on this Goodwill Ambassador mission to relate with the people of the desert, or you're back in the Inland Empire like Jeff is, just sweating it up. You got to go to Spoiled off of Alessandro Boulevard off the 215 freeway between Riverside and Moreno Valley. Jeff, how hot is it in the Riv today?
I want to say it was about 109 the last I checked. And, hey, you're out there where it's like 120. We always talk about the oil change going to Spoil, but are you ever worried about your tires just melting on the road?
Yeah, I do think about that, and I see all these other cars like on the freeway, and I'm like, wait, well, theirs aren't melting. I guess mine are okay, but I do think about that. Like, it's so darn hot, like they're just gonna like melt and just stick to the asphalt, and they're not gonna turn. I do think about it. It's that hot out here in the desert, but I do it for the Inland Empire. I do it for the Inland Sports Show. Again, I'm trying to learn more about the people in the desert, relate to them, bring the Inland Sports Show to them. This is a business trip. I've done it before to other places like in Orange County, really just trying to spread the good news of the Inland Sports Show and trying to get people on board, because we do have teams in the IE, especially for like high school football. There is crossover with some of the teams out here like the Desert Valley League. So the DVL is the big one out here, but there's several other leagues out here. There is some crossover. So we're trying to bridge the two teams, the two sides, the IE and the desert together. So, but it is really hot, and I don't know how they do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, the last couple of days I've been working the UC Riverside men's David Patrick's basketball camp. And, I'm a guy that, I've been pretty sedentary for the last decade. So anytime I have to run around and I have to sweat, it seems like it takes forever for me to stop sweating. I cool down about 2 o'clock in the morning, usually with the AC set down to 70. But man, it is warm out here and I'm still sweating. I've been sitting here doing the show after working camp. I'm exhausted, Pep.
Jeff, what are you coaching exactly out of the camps?
Dude, I'm in charge of, we have station drills among the coaches. And of course, being that, I'm the guy that's the radio voice, I don't think they realize that I'm an ex-coach, and they put me in charge of passing, Pep. Passing.
Does Coach Patrick and the guys, do they know that you never passed?
Well, I think they're starting to know now because my passing drills are terrible, absolutely rotten. And I did tell them, I said, guys, put me in charge of shooting, something I'm good at. Because I'll tell you what, I was never good at passing. I was never good at guarding a soul. But there was one thing I could do, Pep. I could shoot and I could jump. And they haven't put me in charge of either one. I'm doing passing drills. Kids are getting bored. They're looking up at the lights. They're looking at the things on the wall. I don't know how to engage with these kids about passing. So I'm doing goofy games with them, but it's fun nonetheless. I got, 46 little dudes running around me about knee high, and then my son's playing with the older kids. A fun time at UCR getting to hang out with Coach Patrick and his staff.
So, Jeff, while you're out there, do you tell them, is your opening message to the kids at the UCR camp? What was it? Guys who score drive what? Okay,
shooters shoot, rebounders rebound, and assist men drive old cars. And I said, guess what, guys? I never drove an old car. I always had the best-looking girl on campus, and I shot more than any person in the world.
That's the opening message for all the kids out there. Guys, listen, don't pass the basketball, just shoot it. Everyone loves a scorer.
Yeah, you want to be a glamour boy. I mean, man, I want to, being a scorer, and I think the world is starting to see this. Being a scorer in the NBA, college, high school, junior high, elementary school is like being the lead singer of a rock band. I was the lead singer of my rock band for years until the pipes slowed me down. I couldn't sing as well. My legs broke down, and then I became a backup singer, and I became the guy sitting in the bleachers. So there was a short time in my life where I was a rock star.
All right, Jeff, the rock star, you've got your hands on some exclusive documents over there because yesterday we broke down the Cal Baptist men's basketball schedule. Today, for the very first time, this is not even public knowledge. This is exclusive here on the Inland Sports Show. We have the UC Riverside men's basketball schedule as well. Yesterday, we talked about CBU and UCR getting together on November 29th. That's going to be a game for the ages. And then we knew about Life Pacific because our good friend Tim Cook privied us to that information. So Life Pacific will be playing UCR this season. But, Jeff, now we have the complete schedule. Let's go through the Highlanders' schedule, maybe pick out some of those big games, their conference opener, some of the key non-conference trips. Let's talk about UCR basketball here.
UC Riverside, first of all, I'm going to say this. They are stacking themselves with new players. There are 6 new basketball players that are coming into the fold. I know 4 of which will be able to play right away. They have size, they have athletic ability, and they have shooters. That is one thing we haven't seen the last few years of Riverside. They didn't have that deadly outside shooter, and they didn't have that athletic giant post. UC Riverside has both of those things now, but their schedule, I'll tell you what, is pretty fun to talk about. They open the season November 6th, a Tuesday night, away on the road versus Oregon State. Last year, they opened the season up at Cal. Remember what happened there, Pep?
Yeah, they won that one, and I was hoping that was going to be signs of things to come. It kind of was a rocky season for the Highlanders, but that huge game on opening night was a big win. Hopefully they can do the same thing on the road against the Beavers. Yeah,
they've got Oregon State. Then they follow up. They play Portland State. Remember, Portland State last year gave Duke a run for their money. They had 20-plus wins on the year. UC Riverside nearly shocked them at home, but they're on the road at Portland State. Then they travel to UNLV at Thomas and Mack Arena, which will be great to see them play there. Then they're going to travel in a tournament. They play Pacific, Abilene Christian, and the University of Elon. Never heard of Elon. I've heard of Elon Musk, but nothing I've ever heard of.
Maybe they're playing him. Who knows?
But then they go out on the road to Valpo. That's deep in the heart of Indiana. Remember, the Highlanders beat Valpo last year at home. So it'll be a revenge game for Valpo, and it will be a new look for David Patrick's UC Riverside team.
Yeah, I'm excited about that first one against Oregon State. Back-to-back seasons, opening up against a Pac-12 school. As you mentioned, you made the trip up to Berkeley last year, beating the Cal Golden Bears that first game of the year. That was very exciting because we didn't know at the time. We heard that Cal might be down a little bit, but it's still a Pac-12 school, Jeff. I don't care how you slice it. Beating a Pac-12 school in their own gym is huge. If UCR could start the David Patrick era the same way up in Corvallis against Oregon State, I got to hope that's going to set the tone for the rest of the season to beat another Pac-12 school like that.
Yeah, that would be great. Wayne Tinkle and his staff are great. They have a good ball club. They are very athletic. Coach Tinkle's son will be a senior. He was an all Pac-12 player last year. They have Stephen Thompson, who was a son of the legendary local guy Stevie Thompson. They're going to be very good, but I can go down the list, even more teams. We circled that November 29th game versus Cal Baptist. Big game there. Then they go December 6th. They play Pepperdine at home. They go out on the road. They play at UTEP, and then they're at home versus Loyola Marymount. They go out on the road versus Air Force. Then they play away again, going back to Michigan, but not the University of Michigan this time. But this time, they're going to play Western Michigan. So that will round out their non-conference schedule, Pep.
Jeff, call me crazy, but after hearing the schedule and knowing Coach Patrick a little bit now and knowing the guys that he's been recruiting and the players that are returning for UCR, I got to be honest, maybe I'm just feeling confident right now because it's the end of July and we're not exactly close to basketball season quite yet for the Highlanders. But after hearing that schedule, call me crazy, I'm feeling really confident about UCR. After listing all of those teams, I don't see why they can't win more than at least half of those games or even more. I feel like none of those games are unwinnable. I feel like they could go into any of those places and win that game. I'm excited after hearing that schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you look, they were 9-22 overall last year, and they were 4-12 in conference. That 4-12 though should have an asterisk because you and I saw them play, and they were in every single game other than a couple of hiccups. They could have very easily turned that entire conference overall record around. But I do think, I agree with you, I think they're going to win more than 9 games this year. And I'm telling you what, in Big West League play, they open at home versus Cal State Northridge. Then they go out on the road for UC Santa Barbara and Cal State Fullerton, 2 very good teams. And then they're back on the road versus Hawaii, at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, at Irvine, and at home versus Cal Poly. I'm telling you, out of that first few games in conference, they have a shot to win 5 or 6 out of their first 8 games in conference.
Yeah, going back to last year, you know, Jeff, it was kind of the whole theme of the season about being close in every single game and finding new ways to just kind of let it unravel or not find a way to close it out and get that win. Whether we're talking about the start of the season or going into Big West Conference play, if Coach Patrick and the guys can just get a couple wins to build that momentum and excitement around the program, I think it's going to go a long ways. Credit to Coach Justin Bell and the guys from last year for persevering. I mean, they were battling. I think, what was it? I think it was at Hawaii was their first Big West Conference win, wasn't it? I think they were like 0-8 or 0-9 in conference play.
Oh, they were 0-9 starting conference play, and like you said, that big shot in the arm was in Hawaii where you were hanging out. We were doing the show from there, Pep.
That's right. We did the show, and I remember after the game, one of the SIDs at UCR had me go get a quick interview with Justin Bell, and I emailed him the video because it was big news. I mean, we were all waiting for this moment. It felt like so much pressure was alleviated off the Highlanders just getting that first one out of the way. And then, you know, they picked up a couple wins here and there, and they got into the Big West Conference tournament, which is the ultimate goal. And if you remember, and I know you do, they almost beat Davis in that first game of the conference tournament, and Davis was the #1 seed. So even though UCR was towards the bottom of the Big West Conference standings, they weren't that far away from the first-place team in the conference. It was, talent-wise, it was very, very close. I just feel like if you can get a couple wins, get Riverside behind the Highlanders again, build that excitement with a new coach, winning basketball, some new guys mixed with the returners like a Dikembe Martin and company. I like this schedule. I think there's a lot of winnable games on this schedule for the Highlanders in conference and outside of conference. I'm curious, though. You got the schedule in front of you. Who's the last team they play in the regular season?
Well, Pep, you and I will be going back to the same place that we were last year for the last game, and it will be at UC Davis.
That could be a big one. I think Davis is going to be pretty strong again, as will Irvine. You know, I'm not saying like a conference title will be on the line or anything like that. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion quite yet. But, man, I feel like that last game or two of the season could be pretty big for the Highlanders, whether it's trying to get to the conference tournament, although I wish it's going to be a lot better than that. I hope it's not just trying to sneak into the conference tournament. I hope it's competing for the regular season conference championship at that point. But I think the usual suspects will be near the top, like UC Davis, UC Irvine, and UC Santa Barbara, and hopefully UCR can make some noise and sneak in there, join the conversation.
Well, you think about it. Cal State Northridge has a new head coach and great assistant coaches. You know they're going to bring guys in. They've got Coach Gottfried and Jim Herrick is the associate head coach sitting on that bench. So they open conference with a new-look Cal State Northridge. Then they go to Santa Barbara, and we saw last year Santa Barbara brings in grad transfers every year. It's really a different team every single season when they play Santa Barbara, and it's a tough place to play in Thunderdome. And then they're going to follow up and play the representative of the NCAA tournament, Cal State Fullerton. Hey, remember, Cal State Fullerton only lost 2 players, and neither one of those guys were really much of a factor in that lineup. So Cal State Fullerton is looking for redemption to go back to the tournament, and I'll tell you, they work really hard. John Smith and the staff out there at Cal State Fullerton have one thing, and their sights on one thing only, and that is another bid for an NCAA tournament.
I love the Big West Conference. It's ultra competitive, and I can't think of another basketball conference, Jeff, where so many of the teams are equal. I guess that's the definition of parity, right? Like I know the NFL wants parity, the NBA wants parity, where teams can rise up and challenge the teams that are on top. The Big West Conference, from top to bottom, you just never know who's going to knock off the other team. It's the Wild West. I mean, people were tweeting about it. It was very big on social media. They call it Big West After Dark. Because we always, here on the West Coast, we always had the last games of the night in terms of college basketball from the East Coast to the West Coast, and you never knew what was going to happen in the Big West Conference. It was always wild. Teams losing games they shouldn't be, surprise games, as you would call them, dark horses. UCR was a dark horse. I mean, it was just wild, and there was no real separation from the top to the bottom of the standings. Everyone was pretty close, and that's why UCR was so competitive in all their games.
Well, you remember, Pep, how many teams? Was there 8 or 9 different teams that have been in the Big West? Were Big West champions over the last? I think it was 8 years, wasn't it? There were 8 different champions.
Yes, because this past Big West Conference tournament, they said it had to be UCR or Cal State Fullerton to make it to the NCAA tournament to continue that streak, right? Isn't that correct? And in Fullerton,
yes,
ended up doing
that was
it.
The only 2 teams. So if we're going by that standard, it's UC Riverside's year to go to the tournament.
It is. You're right. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. They should punch their ticket to the big dance this year.
So I'm already going to pack my bags, Pep. They're going to be sitting next to my door in my bedroom just because I know we're going to the tournament this year.
Done deal. Let's put the Highlanders in the big dance, and I think that's what everyone wants to see for local basketball. When we come back here on the Inland Sports Show, we're going to shift the conversation to baseball because we've been talking a lot about Chase Utley, the Dodgers star, one of the greatest second basemen of all time. And Jeff and I got to thinking, where does Utley rank with some of the greatest second basemen of all time? Offensively, defensively, the gold gloves, the batting average, put the whole package together. Where does Chase Utley rank amongst the all-time greats? It's a great conversation to have. Chase Utley is back in Philadelphia as the Dodgers are taking on the Phillies, kind of this swan song, his farewell tour across Major League Baseball. So we'll talk Dodgers, we'll talk Chase Utley, and where he ranks amongst the all-time greats. You're listening to your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show, on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM.
Focus on the customer here. Believe it or not, that is the biggest thing for customers on an oil change. They just want the convenience of coming in, driving in, getting it done, and driving out. Just greet them, get them going, and they're done in about 10 minutes or so. We don't push any sales on them. We do the oil change, And I think that's what sets us apart is our customer service. Vacuumed and cleaned your windshield for you as well. Everything's looking pretty good. You come into us one time, believe me, we'll spoil you and you'll be ready to come back the next time.
We're a small family-owned, strive for quality pre-owned vehicles. We're not a volume dealer, and we take every deal as personal to us. We're a low-stress environment. We're not a pressure sales house. If you want to shop us, you're more than welcome to shop us. We have, like I said, great rates, competitive financing, a lot of one-owner, clean Carfax, clean title vehicles. As you see, we have Carfax everywhere. That's most important to us, to educate our customers before they make a purchase. We're right off of Ontario, right off a couple exits off the 15 freeway, off Cajelco, off El Cerrito, and we're right on the main drag going into Dos Logos and the Crossings. We have great financing, we have great lenders that we're using. We do buy, sell, trade, cash for your car. Whatever we need to do to help accommodate the customer, that's what we're here for. We have a little bit of everything. We start at about $69.95 and go all the way up to $100,000. We have Escalades, we have commuters, we have pickup trucks, we have Jeeps, sport utilities, and if we don't have it, our specialty is finding you exactly what you're looking for.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM, live and amplified every single day from 3 to 6 p.m. right here in the IE. Nobody else is doing this, and we do it for the Inland Empire. We love talking local sports, the Dodgers, the Rams, the Lakers, and those other teams too. We talk about everybody here in Southern California, but with an emphasis here on our IE teams and athletes and coaches. We're brought to you by Ken Sporting Goods, more than 40 years in the Inland Empire, providing you with all of your sporting gear needs. And, of course, they can do Letterman's jackets. So if you're getting ready for your senior pictures for next fall and you've got all your all-league patches and all CIF patches, they can hook it up on that Letterman's jacket. They'll bling it out for you, too. Team sales, large orders for your company or business, they can do it all. Ken Sporting Goods off the 15 freeway in Norco, right there off of Hamner. All right, welcome back to the Inland Sports Show. Jeff, we're talking baseball. This time of the year, as we're getting through the dog days of summer, of course we're getting ready for football. We love the NFL training camps. The high school training camps, some of the teams will actually be getting underway this week. The season is right around the corner, but right now during the summer, it's kind of baseball season's time to shine before football really just kind of takes everything over. But we're talking baseball here, excuse me, and we had Chase Utley make the announcement for the Dodgers that at the end of the season, he will announce his retirement. The 39-year-old Silver Fox had some fantastic years with the Philadelphia Phillies. Before he came to the Dodgers, Jeff, I didn't know a whole lot about Chase Utley. I remember those Philly teams with he and Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard. I mean, they were really good. And Chase Utley, for a second baseman, was very good offensively at the plate. I wanted to look up, actually you brought it up, you brought up the subject, but I wanted to look where he ranks with the all-time greats in terms of second baseman, and I was kind of surprised with what I found. And Chase Utley's up there, but I wouldn't say he's one of the all-time greats. When I think of all-time greats, I'm thinking like top 5 second baseman of all time. I mean, when you think of Chase Utley, is he one of the all-time greats?
Well, I mean, you have to put him in the top 15 or top 20 for sure, and I'll tell you why. I'm the first I'm going to say is I didn't know this as well as he's a Long Beach guy, so he's a Southern California guy, played at UCLA.
Yeah.
And the biggest stat that stood out to me is he was the second baseman chosen on the Sports Illustrated All-Decade team from 2000 to 2010. I'll tell you, anytime you can be named the best player of the decade, you've got to be in the mix for one of the greats of all time. And that's what made me think, where does he rank? And I'll tell you what, I think honestly he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I might be crazy going out on a limb there saying that, but if you look at comparatively to the guys we've seen in the last 40 years, I think he's right up there.
Well, okay, I'm going to disagree with you. I think he is offensively one of the all-time greats. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. In fact, he's probably on the bubble for the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I was going through some of the stats of the other second basemen, and that's the conversation I wanted to have with you, and you guys can tweet us as well. Go at @inland_sports. Give us your take on where Chase Utley ranks. He was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He was fantastic on those Philly teams. He's a nice piece for the Dodgers as a good pinch hitter off the bench. But when I was going through the greatest second baseman, I was trying to come up with a list of where he would kind of rank for me. And, Jeff, before we go through this list, let me preface this by saying I'm throwing out some of the all-time greats from a long time ago. I'm talking about Roger Hornsby, who a lot of people say the greatest second baseman of all time. I'm throwing out Roger Hornsby. I'm throwing out Jackie Robinson. I'm throwing out a bunch of guys from way back that I had never heard of. I'm going like the modern era. I'm going to say like the last 30 or 40 years, guys that we've seen in our lifetime. Because I could go through all the stats and numbers, but it wouldn't be fair because I'm just judging it by what I'm reading. I'm going by guys that we had a chance to watch on TV. We saw their highlights. Like, we had a chance to actually watch them as players. So I wanted to go through that list and find out where Chase Utley ranks, at least in my book, with the all-time greats. And I want to see if you agree with me, because I know you have a hunch of where Chase Utley might rank as well.
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to just preface before we start this list, there are two guys that I hold above him that I actually saw play as a kid, and they're still two of my all-time favorite players. And I'm just going to tell you before we start, Joe Morgan was my favorite when I was a little boy watching a Big Red Machine. And then, of course, being an Angel fan, I have to go with Rod Carew. And both of those guys are first ballot Hall of Famers. And like I said, if you can be the best at your position for 10 years, you have to get something for it. 10 years is a long time. That's a long time to be good. We're talking Mike Trout. How long have you been in the league for? 6 years?
Yeah, 6, 7 years, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, he's the best at his position, and we're already saying he could possibly be the best player of all time, and he has not been the best player for 10 years. That's still yet to be determined. But I think Chase Utley, though, if I had a vote, I would definitely vote him in just for the body of work he did for that decade.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers are great, and they're comparable to some of the all-time greats. Like you mentioned, Rod Carew. Rod Carew was a hitting machine. Rod Carew's an all-time great. Joe Morgan's an all-time great. Roger Hornsby, obviously, if you go way back, is an all-time great. Jackie Robinson was a second baseman. And I read about these other second basemen that I had never heard of because they played like 100 years ago. But we want to compare guys in the modern era, guys that we saw on TV, guys that we saw their highlights every night as we watch the highlight shows on cable, guys that we are familiar with. Where does Chase Utley rank? So my number one second baseman, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, he came up with the New York Mets, and I followed this guy very closely, Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent, if you look at his offensive numbers, they're staggering. He did not hit like a second baseman. He had a lot of power. He played, considerable years with the Giants. Remember Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds? You put those two together, man. I can't think of two better sluggers during that era. I mean, that was a 1-2 punch in San Francisco. But Jeff Kent came up with the Mets. I'm a Mets fan. I remember him coming up and thinking, "Wow, this guy's hitting like 20, 25 home runs as a second baseman. Who is this guy?" It was Jeff Kent. I put Jeff Kent at the top of the list. Although I know a lot of people are probably like, Jeff Kent, he's not one of the greatest of all time. I think he is.
Five-time All-Star. Remember, he won the MVP award in 2000 with the Giants when he was playing with another guy we know of, and some say possibly the best hitter of all time. That's Barry Bonds. So he was the MVP on that same team. So yeah, I agree there. That's a good call.
All right, I'm going to go through, I'll say my top 5 right now, second baseman of the modern era. It all starts with Jeff Kent. I think a very close second and third in this order is Craig Biggio of the Astros, followed by Roberto Alomar, who played, I think of him as a Blue Jay. And Roberto Alomar, man, he probably had more power, drove in more runs than a Craig Biggio, but Biggio was another guy that was a hitting machine. So more like a Rod Carew. The average is going to be high. He's going to have a lot of hits. But Roberto Alomar and Jeff Kent were guys that you could put in the middle of the order, more of like a 3 or a 4 hitter or a 5 hitter. So I'm going to go Jeff Kent, Craig Biggio, Roberto Alomar. Then I'm going to put Chase Utley. I'm going to put Chase Utley in at number 4. And number 5, as I do my top 5 second basemen of this modern era, the last 30 or so years, I'm going to put Ryne Sandberg, Jeff Kent, Biggio, Alomar, Utley, and Ryne Sandberg. That would be my top 5. You could make a case for Robinson Cano, but I'm not going to do it, Jeff, because of his links with PEDs, and I just can't do it. He's a great hitter, but that's my top 5 right now.
Yeah, that's a good top 5. The only thing I would do is maybe add to that list, and maybe it's a little too soon to do so, but Jose Altuve right now playing as one of the best second basemen we've seen in a long time. The little guy hits for power. He's a stud. I would have to add him to that list. Like you said, Robinson Cano, you have to put an asterisk there just because of the accusations are called. But I'm going to add a guy to this list that maybe you don't remember see play, but I do very fondly, and that's Willie Randolph of the New York Yankees. Willie Randolph was spectacular, athletic, great arm, great speed, could steal bases. And I'll tell you what, he was a human backstop. You couldn't get a ball past him. One of my favorites, Willie Randolph, I have to put in that list.
You know, that's a tough list because when you think of middle infielders, especially in shortstops as well, you think first off the glove. They're out there because they're going to see a lot of ground balls. They can't make mistakes. They can't make the errors. You think of second baseman as being defense first, and then if they provide a little bit of offense, that's even better. You know, your corner, like your first base, your third baseman, your corner outfielders, that's where the power comes from. The guys up the middle, the catcher, the shortstop, the second baseman, the center fielder, they've got to be able to play the field. They got to have defense. When I was going through my second baseman, I did the exact opposite. I put the offensive numbers first in front of their defensive credentials. I thought of their defensive credentials, secondary. I thought, because of course, Jeff Kent's offensive numbers, I couldn't get around him. Now, Craig Biggio was you'll remember this, he was a catcher as well. He was a catcher and a second baseman. He was great defensively. That's why I have him at number 2, because Jeff Kent's offensive numbers, I just couldn't look past them that much. I mean, they were unbelievable. Roberto Alomar was a great defender as well. Chase Utley was pretty good, and Ryan Sandberg, he had some real pop in his bat as a second baseman. So I went with offense first, and defense was a secondary factor, at least when I was putting my top 5 together in this modern era.
Okay, I want to add one more, and I know because I'm thinking these off the top of my head, the guys I watched as a kid. Lou Whitaker, Sweet Lou, remember played for the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, Detroit Tigers.
He was like 18 or 20 years. And remember that tandem of he and Alan Trammell, man, they were the best double play combination in baseball. I remember watching them as kids going, those two guys, I collected their baseball cards, and Lou Whitaker stood out as one of those guys that was just, he was a human glove. He never missed a ball.
Well, any way you slice it, Chase Utley certainly deserves to be in the conversation with the all-time greats, especially when you look in the last 20, 25, 30 years. His offensive numbers rank with some of the greatest second basemen that we have seen in this internet era, the cable television era, the highlight shows, all those, this era where the athletes feel like they're right in front of you. You get to see them on a nightly basis. Chase Utley, certainly one of the greats. When we come back on your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show, we got to talk high school football. Beginning today and running through the next several weeks leading up to week 0, which is August 17th, we're going to take a look at the different leagues in the Inland Empire. And, Jeff, I think it's safe to say that if we start with the Big 8 League, no one's going to get their feelings hurt. No one's going to be offended, because you got to start with Centennial and those heavyweights that play in the Big 8 League. Some Division I, Division II teams, Division III. I mean, these are some of the best teams in the Inland Empire, and they go head-to-head year in and year out in the land of the Big 8. So we'll look at Big 8 League football here in the Inland Empire when we come back on your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM.
I played once upon a time at Centennial High School. I was actually on the first ever CIF championship team back in 2000, and then my senior year we won it again. I think that's my passion because I've done it. You know, I know exactly where these athletes are at. I know what their mindset is right now. I know how hard it is to, number one, find a performance coach who can take you to the next level. What sets us apart has to be, you know, how we work with our athletes and what we know. We can take an athlete and you know, help them reach their athletic potential, you know, help them, you know, prevent injuries, help get them stronger. I know every single athlete who steps into this gym. I know exactly where they're at, and I'm going to progress them every week. If you're not getting results, then, you know, what's it about? We're going to deliver something that's measurable, you know, in terms of speed, power, you know, strength, agility.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. We're going to dive deep into high school football here, and it's brought to you by Catalano Motors in Corona off of Temescal Canyon Road. Buy, trade, finance, you can do it all at Catalano Motors in Corona. They make it so easy for you because they want to help you out. They want to make that car shopping experience so easy. And right now, when you mention the Inland Sports Show, you get $500 off. It's that easy, and it only happens at Catalano Motors in Corona off of Temescal Canyon Road, CatalanoCars.com. All right, Jeff, before we take a look at the Big 8 League, you got some news on RCC, highly regarded as one of the top junior college football programs in the land, and they've got some preseason ranking honors.
Yeah, national preseason rankings per the 2018 College Football Association. They rank Riverside City College football team as number 8 team in the nation, Pep.
Yeah, you know, those are kind of funny because there's no national playoff system. So you just have to gauge who has the best level of junior college football. And California's right up there. I think you had mentioned Fullerton College, who won the state championship last year in California. What, they were like number 2 in the nation?
Yes, number 2. Actually, it's Fullerton is number 2 in the country. There's one stat I wanted to tell you. I just read, and I thought you might laugh. Is RCC is ranked higher than Independence. I don't know if you've watched that show, Last Chance U, on Netflix.
No, but everyone's talking about it.
Everybody's talking about it, but guess what? They're not ranked as high as our Riverside City College. So, for you, Independence, let's have Netflix over here talking to Tom Kraft.
That's right. Let's get Netflix out there at RCC. That would be awesome.
Yeah, they can get the old crazy Tom Kraft, who's I would say salty. Would he be more salty than I am? I would say yes. He would be great on Netflix. I don't know if you could fill an hour with him because he doesn't like to talk. He's a lot like some of these other coaches, a lot like Coach Broach, one of those guys that doesn't like to go out and talk about his team. But, man, I'll tell you what, Riverside, number 8 in the country, that's pretty good, especially for the guys that they bring in. They're bringing guys from all across the land just to play at Riverside City College.
That's pretty funny. That Last Chance U, I have not watched it myself. It's not really my cup of tea, but I know a lot of football guys and coaches that are into it. The running back for Independence is a Rancho Verde guy, Jamal Scott. He played in the Inland Empire All-Star Football Classic, I think it was 2 seasons ago. It might have been the year Jeff Steinberg was one of the head coaches in the All-Star game. I've seen Coach Steinberg put some stuff out on social media that Jamal Scott's one of the guys at Independence.
So, yeah, those guys are playing. I mean, the thing is with JC athletics is outside of California, they're national community colleges, and they can actually give kids scholarships. So I've seen guys programs come out and recruit basketball players and football players, and they put them up and give them, like, pay for their room and board, just like they do a Division I or a Division II scholarships. That's why some of these guys leave the area, because they're getting their education paid for, and it's really tough out here if you're a local guy to really kind of break into the system at Riverside City College or vice versa because of the scholarships these guys are given outside of California.
Yeah, but you gotta go a long ways, like a guy like Jamal Scott going from Moreno Valley, basically to the middle of nowhere, trying to keep that dream alive and get a scholarship. I know a lot of guys at RCC and San Bernardino Valley College, they stick close to home, and and Coach Elgadas and Coach Kraft, they're getting them out, they're getting them to other schools. So, but I think the appeal of being on Last Chance U, that's kind of interesting. Who knows? Maybe we'll try to get Jamal Scott on our show. I don't know how much he's able to say about the show because I don't know what the turnaround time is. Are we like several weeks behind what you actually see on Netflix? Like, I don't know how. Or was it last season? Like, I haven't seen the show, so I don't know exactly how it works.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either, but I just thought it was funny that RCC ranked higher than Independence.
Darn right. We love the Tigers. All right, let's talk some high school football, the land of the Big Eight. It's our pledge to you, the IE, to talk high school football every single show on the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. As we look at the land of the Big Eight, Jeff, you got to start with Centennial. No one's going to get their feelings hurt. No one's going to get offended that you start with Centennial. They have been the benchmark for high school football in Southern California, especially for the public schools. Throw out the Trinity League. You can, I know you can point to Mater Dei or a Bosco, but in terms of public high school football in Southern California, nobody is better than Centennial. Consistently one of the top teams in the state. They are always in the hunt for a state championship. They are nationally ranked. Centennial, they're loaded again. They've got a lot of great players. I think that just the biggest question mark for them is who replaces Tanner McKee. And the last time we talked to Matt Logan, they've actually got several quarterbacks that they're looking at. They've got some guys. The cupboard is not bare. It's just who's going to win that starting job for the Huskies. Yeah, and that was the one thing I was going to mention is who is going to replace Tanner McKee. There are so many athletes, and you look at their depth chart, Centennial's known to get transfers here and there, but you look at the transfers for quarterback, I think there's guys from other big-time programs to come play for Matt Logan, and that will be the big question mark. Who starts week 1 for the Huskies? Well, whoever they go with, Centennial's going to be good. Make no mistake there. And they've got I love their non-league schedule. They're playing some great teams, especially, the Chandler, Arizona game, Orange Lutheran. I think Narbonne's back in there, Pittsburgh and Valley View. It's going to be a great non-league schedule. I'm excited for Centennial. They're going to be really good again. Just the question mark right now is who's going to be the starting quarterback. And Matt Logan's platooned quarterbacks before, playing 2 quarterbacks simultaneously, to having 2 starting quarterbacks. I don't know if that's going to happen again. That's very rare, but he has done it in the past. And if he's got 2 really great quarterbacks, maybe he would do it again. So we'll have to see about Centennial. Jeff, I think the second team in the Big 8 League might be Norco. Norco's loaded again. They are one of the top teams in Division II. They, I think, are going to make a run to the CIF title in Division II. I don't know if they're going to beat Centennial, but they're going to be very, very good at Norco High School. I'm really excited about this Cougars team as they try to make it 32 years in a row in the playoffs. Yeah, and I'm going to equate this to it's a one-team, one-town mentality, and that offensive and defensive line that Norco puts out every single year, you have to pencil them in for that 32nd year of making the CIF playoffs. And like you said, they have a chance to win a CIF championship. They've got some a quarterback controversy going. There's all kinds of question marks with Norco, but the answers are always going to be, they're just going to be good, Pep. And, okay, so Centennial, we've touched on Norco. I think Santiago and Roosevelt, they're going to be fighting for 3rd place. Maybe they're going to make a run at Norco for 2nd place, but I think the middle of the Big 8 League is where the most interesting matchups are going to take place between Norco and Santiago and Roosevelt, like it was a season ago. I think fighting to stay out of the cellar is going to be Corona and King. Not sure what King has. Coach Geringer in his 2nd season at Corona. It's hard to see how much progress they have made with the Panthers, but you can bet they're going to be battle tested, because when you play in the Big 8 League, top to bottom, it might be the toughest league that we have in the Inland Empire. I know the Southwestern League can make a case, maybe even the Citrus Belt League right now, or even the Ivy League, the brand new Ivy League, because there's only 4 schools. But the Big 8 League, in terms of the level of football they play week in and week out, with Corona and King, Roosevelt, Santiago, Norco, and of course Centennial, Jeff, it is a battle every single Friday night.
Yeah, it's a battle, and you know, you mentioned Team Corona. You know, Ron Gehringer. Remember what he did at San Gorgonio High School? He gave them their first Southern Section CIF championship, if I'm not mistaken.
First one ever.
And that school had been around forever. And we know that Corona has dudes. They have athletes. I don't think he's going to, has a chance to win it this year, but I wouldn't count him out year 3, 4, and 5 down the road, because we've seen him turn around programs like Sanjee, and I think he'll do the same at Corona.
Yeah, the hardest thing for a school like Corona or King is just simply get to the playoffs. Big 8 League's going to be tough, but if you can survive and get to the playoffs, you can make a run to the CIF title. Listen, we're 2 hours deep into the show. We have not talked about the Lakers yet, so guess what? We're going to talk about the Lakers when we come back on your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show, Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM.
Focus on the customer here. Believe it or not, that is the biggest thing for customers on an oil change. They just want the convenience of coming in, driving in, getting it done, and driving out. Just greet them, get them going, and they're done in about 10 minutes or so. We don't push any sales on them. We do the oil change, and I think that's what sets us apart, is our customer service. Vacuumed and cleaned your windshield for you as well. Everything's looking pretty good. Come into us one time, believe me, we'll spoil you and you'll be ready to come back the next time.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. This segment brought to you by Spoiled. Quick, quality oil change every 3 or 5,000 miles. Get your oil changed. And there's only one place that has great customer service, low prices. They get you in and out quickly, and that is Spoiled. Quick, quality oil change off of Alessandro Boulevard, right there off the 215 freeway between Riverside and Moreno Valley. All right, let's talk a little Lakers. We've gone over 2 hours of the Inland Sports Show, Jeff, and we have not talked the Lakers. It's so sad. But now we're going to talk Lakers. They just added Michael Beasley. He signed his contract late yesterday afternoon to officially make him a Laker. And I guess he was trying to shut down the narrative, the conversation that all of these big personalities coming over to the Lakers in the offseason would not gel. We're talking about guys like, of course, Lance Stevenson. LeBron James seems like he's not going to be an issue. He's the ringleader. Everyone's coming to see LeBron James. But some of these other guys, Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma. Now you've got Michael Beasley, who's had off-the-court issues. You put all these guys on together on one team. Like I said, this is a really good team. They're not going to beat Golden State, but they could be their own worst enemy. The only way this does not work and the Lakers don't make it to the playoffs and this whole thing just explodes is if they implode on themselves, if they are their own worst enemy. And Michael Beasley was trying to get in front of this narrative and say, no, it's not going to be a problem. Don't judge me. Don't judge this team and the guys we have on this team. It's not going to be a problem. Jeff, is it going to be a problem?
I think you're going to have a divided locker room for sure. I mean, just when you add Ray, and let's put this in perspective here. The Lakers we want to see get better every year. As Southern California Laker fans, they were 35-47. They were third in the Pacific Division. You add, and I want you to answer this for me first before we get into this locker room. You add LeBron James. Does that make you better than 35-47?
Absolutely.
So you're looking at maybe, I say LeBron James is good for 10 extra wins. That puts him at, 45 and 37. Not a bad record.
No.
I mean, not bad, 45-37. But then you add guys. You have the young core of guys. And I'm going to say this, maybe I'm wrong, but I've been around enough basketball players. I've been around enough inner city guys growing up, playing against the best in the world. You have guys like Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram. Those guys are what you call nice guys that have been catered to their entire AAU youth programs, their high school programs, and even to the extent of their college programs. But then you add guys like Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, and then Michael Beasley. And I'm going to tell you this, Pep. Those guys weren't catered to nearly as much as the younger generation of guys. These are real dudes. These are guys that'll fight you if you mess around and if you cheat at cards or you do those things. They're going to beat you up. And that is a divided locker room of guys. You have the nice guys and you have the tough guys. Sometimes it can mesh, but other times it can cause dissension. And when you have young guys playing over these veterans that want to play, Rajon Rondo thinks he's a superstar. He's a world champ, Pep. Lance Stevenson, we've only seen him play well in one spot, and that's Indiana and against LeBron James. JaVale McGee, he's a ding-dong, and Michael Beasley loves to smoke too much weed. How will they coexist with these young guys and LeBron James? And the answer is simple. LeBron James is going to have to be the senator, the president, and the chancellor of the world to keep these guys together on the same team.
Yeah, he's going to have to be the guy policing the locker room and kind of bridging that gap between the veterans who, like you said, a little grittier than some of these young guys. But I've never been a fan of Michael Beasley. What did he average last year? Like 13 or 14 points per game, something like that?
Yeah, 13 points a game.
Okay, so, he can score. He's a nice addition to the Lakers. I would bring him off the bench. He's a nice addition. He's gonna be physical. He's gonna have like you said, that gritty presence. You're not gonna be able to push this guy around. But here's the problem I have with Michael Beasley, because he signed his contract yesterday, and he took some questions from the media, and this was his quote in terms of, taking all these, again, big personalities, putting them in one locker room, and can they all get along? Can they find some harmony in the Lakers locker room and make this work, including Michael Beasley? So Michael Beasley said this, quote, "Stop judging a lot of players, me mainly. You will figure out that guys like me, Nick Young, J.R. Smith, and Lance Stevenson."
Whoa.
Exactly. Guys like me, Nick Young, J.R. Smith, and Lance Stevenson, and guys like that know how to play basketball and win basketball games. They know how to get along with others. It has nothing to do with my maturity. Jeff, if I am Michael Beasley and I'm trying to plead my case to Laker fans out there that I'm a good guy and I'm going to be fine in the locker room and you don't have to worry about me, the last guys I would compare myself to are Nick Young and J.R. Smith.
Yeah, let's just talk about just the recent missteps that those two ding-dongs said. Nick Young told everybody they should try cocaine. And then you have J.R. Smith, who didn't even know the score in a championship series.
No.
You're going to compare yourself to those guys? I will say this about the Lakers. Their bench is way better than the bench they had last year.
Yes.
But their bench is also nuts. We haven't even mentioned, and no offense, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Remember, he was going to jail during home games and spending the night in the clink. We didn't even mention him. And, I mean, good Lord. And here's one other thing. Remember we talked about last week that the Lakers had 8 forwards?
Yes.
They just added a 9th. Michael Beasley's a forward. I mean, honest to goodness, can we package some of these guys and just throw them at Kawhi Leonard? I don't know what's going on when you have 9 forwards and your centers are JaVale McGee and Zubac. Those two guys couldn't guard me, and I'm 47 years old. They're athletic, they're big, but they're not gonna do anything for that offense or that defense of the Lakers. I'm telling you, they're gonna go small lineup. LeBron James is gonna be the 5-man.
I think you're right there. I'm coming around with that theory, Jeff, that you think LeBron James will be, basically the center of the Lakers. Man, if the NBA had a Hard Knocks version of like all access through training camp, I would love to see the Lakers training camp. There are so many wild personalities, guys who are rough around the edges, guys who have had a lot of issues and problems off the court. Here's LeBron James. I mean, I'm not going to say he's in the twilight of his career, Jeff, but he's coming down the home stretch in terms of his prime, and the best years of his life as a basketball player. I just don't know if LeBron James is going to be able to be that guy to make sure everyone stays, if I could take a term from LeVar Ball, if everyone could just stay in their lane. You know what I mean? Like, don't get in trouble. Do your job. Don't be outspoken. Keep things in-house when things aren't going well. Again, Michael Beasley, in his own mind, when he looks at himself as being similar to Nick Young and J.R. Smith. And I look at those two guys and think, man, I would not want those guys on my team in a million years.
No, and here, we're not playing in Utah. We're not playing in these places where the guys aren't going to get in trouble. They're playing in Los Angeles, Pep. There's more trouble in Los Angeles than virtually anywhere in the world. You get TMZ following you. They will know where every single Laker is at every single day, every place they go to dinner. They can't screw up. If they screw up, man alive, Los Angeles will eat those guys for lunch.
Well, that's why I'm so excited to see this team come together during training camp. Because, again, you're going to have the young guys, Ingram, Hart, Kuzma, and Ball. You're going to have these new veterans coming in. How are they all going to mesh? How is LeBron James going to, bridge the two groups, I guess you would call it, inside that Lakers locker room? They could be really good. They could be like one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Western Conference, or they could simply implode based on all the guys they have in that locker room. I can't wait to see how this kind of all unfolds. And I think we'll start seeing signs of it in training camp, the separation between, who's going to start, who might get cut from the team. I mean, who knows? Maybe these guys are going to go to training camp and they're going to realize we've got 8-9 forwards here. We can't keep all you guys. You can't all play the same position. We need some variety here.
And you know what I feel the worst for?
Who's that?
The darn coach, Luke Walton. And man, he's in for. I think that if he can win with this team and keep them out of trouble, dude, he should be coach of the century. I mean, this is. I mean, he's squeaky clean. His dad's a knucklehead, but he's a squeaky clean coach. He's going to have to cut his teeth because really last year with the Lakers, he was destined to kind of fail, I think, with those young guys. Now he's going to have to produce, and he's going to have to manage these guys because at the NBA, that's really what you do. Is you're a manager, and you're trying to get the best from these guys to keep them from imploding. Luke, we're going to see if Luke Walton can coach. We can see if he learned from Steve Kerr. We can see if he learned from Lute Olson. We can see if he learned from his dad. If he can't, he could be short-lived. He could be out by the All-Star break.
Yeah, if this goes sideways, they're not going to point their finger at LeBron. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be Luke Walton. Guys will get cut. It will not be LeBron James. When we come back on the Inland Sports Show, let's talk about Kawhi Leonard. There was more news on Kawhi Leonard today, and he's losing a lot of money. And the other big question is, where is he? Will he be in Las Vegas tomorrow? We're going to talk about USA Minicamp when we come back on the one and only Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM.
We're small, family-owned, strive for quality pre-owned vehicles. We're not a volume dealer, and we take every deal as personal to us. We're a low-stress environment. We're not a pressure sales house. If you want to shop us, you're more than welcome to shop us. We have, like I said, great rates, competitive financing, a lot of one-owner, clean Carfax, clean title vehicles. As you see, we have Carfax everywhere. That's most important to us, to educate our customers before they make a purchase. We're right off of Ontario, right off a couple exits off the 15 freeway, off Cahelco, off El Cerrito, and we're right on the main drag going into Dos Logos and the crossings. We have great financing, we have great lenders that we're using. We do buy, sell, trade, cash for your car. Whatever we need to do to help accommodate the customer, that's what we're here for. We have a little bit of everything. We start at about $69.95 and go all the way up to $100,000. We have Escalades, we have commuters, we have pickup trucks, we have Jeeps, sport utilities, and if we don't have it, our specialty is finding you exactly what you're looking for.
Thank God, first of all. I thank the great people that I've got around me that help support me, the people that work for me. As I started, if it wasn't for the people around me, we probably wouldn't be here right now, but I've got a great staff. I've got great people that do stuff for us outside the store, and we've been very, very fortunate. Our service is impeccable, and we just keep trying to get better every year. We can do online stuff for your teams, as well as, like I said, the screen printing, the embroidery. We also have 3 women that do extra sewing for us, like tackle tool on uniforms, or the bling or rhinestones for different shirts for the ladies. That's why we have certain racks just for certain schools, and the fun about that is that it turns into other schools that may come in here that aren't as close, that we can do stuff for them as well. We've had very, very good customers throughout the years, and it's just been a blast.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM, live and amplified every single day from 3 to 6 p.m. on the local sports leader. Jeff Gorham, Greg Holla. I'm just Pep Fernandez. We're brought to you by Ken Sporting Goods. More than 40 years in the Inland Empire with all your sporting gear, equipment you could ever dream of. They can do Letterman's jackets, too. They're right there in Norco off the 15 freeway since 1976. They're doing something right. They've been around a long, long time, hooking it all the way up for local teams and athletes. Ken Sporting Goods, kensportinggoods.com. Jeff, we must talk about Kawhi Leonard. Now, before I was here doing the show, I was walking around a mall. I have not been to a mall in a long time. I know you guys aren't going to believe me when I say that, but I haven't. I have not been to like a real mall in a long, long time. I'm the same guy who I cut my own hair. I don't see a lot of movies. I don't go to the mall much. I know I'm very vanilla. I'm boring. You don't have to tell me that. I already know it. But I went to the mall today, and I got to tell you, I can believe there were so many Jordans. That Jordan brand, the Jumpman, is everywhere. They got all these different styles. Everywhere, everyone is wearing Jordan. I totally get it. Jordans were big when I was in high school. You know, if you had Jordans on, you were a cool kid. So when I heard the news that the Jordan brand is separating from Kawhi Leonard, I thought to myself, wait, right now, unless I'm wrong, right now, I can't think of another athletic brand or shoes bigger than Jordan. And now they want to leave Kawhi Leonard. Like Kawhi Leonard let them off the hook. I just don't get it. He turned down a 4-year, $22 million deal from the Jordan brand back in March. He said, nope, no thanks. And now the company, the Jordan brand, came out today and said that, yeah, we're not bringing Kawhi back. We're going to go our own ways. Jeff, that kind of hit me hard.
Well, I'm going to address your issue about the malls. If you ever see me in a mall, Pep, and I say this to all of the listeners, if you ever see Jeff Gorham in a mall, feel free to come over and punch me square in the neck.
Yeah.
Because I hate only time I go is once a year at Christmas to shop for Smetty Smed and the kids. Other than that, no, but I do go always peruse the shoes when I do go. I will say this about Kawhi Leonard. I have never in my life seen somebody fall from grace so fast. I know Tiger Woods was a different situation because of his wife and the drugs and everything else, but Kawhi Leonard we know is pretty squeaky clean, but he's getting some really, 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 really bad advice from his advisors. He is not helping himself whatsoever this year, and this is the time where he should cash in on the great years. I mean, remember, he was a 3-time all-defensive first-team selection and a finals MVP. It's not like he's a nobody. The guy is a bona fide superstar, possibly the second-best player in the world, and yet the Jordan brand has turned their back on him, and now I'm starting to wonder, is he going to get much more than the asking price that they offered him?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. You're right. This is the Jordan brand. It doesn't get any bigger than this. We're not talking about LA Gear trying to make a comeback and they want Kawhi to be the face of their franchise, or Puma. You know, Puma's real big now in basketball, trying to make a comeback on the hardwood. You know, Puma's big in a lot of different other sports, including soccer, but Puma's now trying to break into basketball. This is the Jordan brand. This is the most popular brand. All the kids are wearing Jordan brand. Kawhi Leonard had a chance to continue to be one of the faces of the Jordan brand, and he said no. 4 years, what was it? Let me get the number. 4 years, $22 million, and he said no. And once he said no, the Jordan brand turned it back around on him and said, yeah, we're going to just let you leave the brand in October when their contract runs out. So there's not even like, hey, let's continue to talk. Let's try to make this work out. You know, maybe we can still, come to an agreement. The Jordan brand came today announcing, yeah, we're not going to do this. You can go ahead and just walk.
Well, Pep, let's just put this in perspective here. They offered him $5.5 million. I figured out with that contract. He's not going to get the money that James Harden did. James Harden, remember, got that $200 million deal with Adidas a couple years back. But I'm going to go through some of the guys that we look at and we go, wow, that's a lot of money. Those are great shoes, great guys. Michael Jordan makes $110 million off of the Jordan brand.
Wow.
LeBron James, that's $110 million a year, Pep. LeBron James, $32 million from Nike. Kevin Durant makes $25 million, and Kobe Bryant makes $16 million. Man, Leonard's deal would have put him on par with Paul George. Paul George only made $5.5 million from Nike the previous year. What kind of advice is he getting? Man, with $5.5 million a year for a guy who doesn't say a word to the public, that seems like a lot of money to me, Pep.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're going to be the face or the pitch man for a company like the Jordan brand, wouldn't you want a guy who, is willing to put himself out there, smile, talk to the media? You know what I mean? Like, you have that endorsement deal. You have to put yourself in the public eye. Kawhi Leonard doesn't do that. In fact, I'm not sure why a brand would even want to attach themselves with him, for the simple fact that he just wants to, stay under the radar. And that's fine. I'm a under the radar guy myself. I get it. But if that's what he wants, don't expect some shoe company to throw $20 million at you per year when you're not going to put yourself out there.
No, and he's not right now, he's not a marketable superstar. And right now we're in a time when you've got to be marketable, and right now he's at his least marketable he's been in his entire career.
The only thing I can think of is maybe he's got something going on behind the scenes, similar to doesn't Klay Thompson, isn't he the guy that has a brand with a Chinese company?
He does, but I mean, if that's the case, maybe they're trying to market him to sell shoes overseas. But if he's going to sell shoes here in the United States, unless he's a rapper, I mean, we know that Kanye West has the Yeezys. You've got to have an edge to you. There's no edge to Kawhi Leonard. You don't know if he's a good guy. You don't know if he's a bad guy. He's just a guy who doesn't say a word. There's no edge to him. Why would anyone throw a boatload of money at a guy who has no edge, good or bad?
For example, let's take a look at the last couple San Antonio Spurs. And I'm going to go back to David Robinson because, Jeff, you made a good point yesterday on the show that, David Robinson was trying to reach out to Kawhi Leonard, and he never got a response from Kawhi Leonard. David Robinson, one of the all-time greats in the NBA, a former San Antonio Spur himself, and he couldn't even get a call back from Kawhi Leonard. But I bring up David Robinson because, think about it, before Kawhi Leonard, the face of the San Antonio Spurs was Tim Duncan. Did Tim Duncan have his own shoes or have a shoe deal? Because if he did, I don't even know about it. Because he was, for lack of a better word, he was so boring. He was so vanilla.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything about him.
I want to say that I'm sure he had a shoe deal, but it was nowhere in the ballpark of what Kawhi was offered, $5.5 million. I'm sure he made somewhere in the ballpark of a couple million. But like you said, vanilla, nice, no edge to him. There's no and really not very marketable other than he's just a nice guy.
Yeah, but
Kawhi Leonard,
But you can listen. You can be a nice guy and you can still get the endorsement money because that's why I'm going back to David Robinson. David Robinson put himself out there. He was always in the public eye, always with a big smile on his face, meeting with the fans. In fact, he had one of the first, I think Nike Airs. Didn't he have the Admirals? I think they were called the Admirals.
Yeah, remember? And they did the whole product line of Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. You remember they had the commercials that he would show up wearing a sweater and would take off a sweater and put on a jersey?
Because he was such a nice guy, like Mr. Rogers. He was such a nice guy that you could still, even though he wasn't a bad boy, you could still market a nice guy. Kawhi could be the nice guy.
Yeah, but we have not. And the thing is, if he just came out and talked, if he could just hear something from Kawhi Leonard. And it's so frustrating because we're in the Inland Empire. We want to root for the guy, but I'll tell you what, it's getting harder and harder to root for him because he said nothing.
Yeah, it is hard to root for him. Speaking of the nice guy, I've got The Force Awakens on behind me. Kylo Ren's about to kill Han Solo. Speaking of the nice guy. Jeff, tomorrow USA Camp opens up in Las Vegas for the men's national team, and Kawhi Leonard, we still don't know if he's going to be there or not. So tomorrow on the show, we will be definitely keeping a close eye on that mini camp in Las Vegas for USA Hoops, and we'll see if Kawhi shows up, and if he shows up, how does he look on the court? So that's something we're going to be keeping an eye on as we go into tomorrow. Let's take a break here on the Inland Sports Show. When we come back, we'll take an early look at the Dodgers score. They are in Philadelphia this evening, and the big Major League Baseball Hall of Fame ceremony is coming up on Sunday, and we will have the first ever Angel inducted into Cooperstown. We'll be back at your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE, 1350 AM.
I played once upon a time at Centennial High School. I was actually on the first ever CIF championship team back in 2000, and then my senior year we won it again. I think that's my passion because I've done it. You know, I know exactly where these athletes are at. I know what their mindset is right now. I know how hard it is to, number one, find a performance coach who can take you to the next level. What sets us apart has to be, you know, how we work with our athletes and what we know. We can take an athlete and you know, help them reach their athletic potential, you know, help them, you know, prevent injuries, help get them stronger. I know every single athlete who steps into this gym. I know exactly where they're at, and I'm going to progress them every week. If you're not getting results, then, you know, really what's it about? We're going to deliver something that's measurable, you know, in terms of speed, power, you know, strength, agility.
We're small, family-owned, strive for quality pre-owned vehicles. We're not a volume dealer, and we take every deal as personal to us. We're a low-stress environment. We're not a pressure sales house. If you want to shop us, you're more than welcome to shop us. We have, like I said, great rates, competitive financing, a lot of one-owner, clean Carfax, clean title vehicles. As you see, we have Carfax everywhere. That's most important to us, to educate our customers before they make a purchase. We're right off of Ontario, right off a couple exits off the 15 freeway, off Cajalco, off El Cerrito, and we're right on the main drag going into Dos Logos and the Crossings. We have great financing, we have great lenders that we're using. We do buy, sell, trade, cash for your car. Whatever we need to do to help accommodate the customer, that's what we're here for. We have a little bit of everything. We start at about $69.95 and go all the way up to $100,000. We have Escalades, we have commuters, we have pickup trucks, we have Jeeps, sport utilities, and if we don't have it, our specialty is finding you exactly what you're looking for.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. This segment brought to you by Boost Performance Training in Corona with Coach Ray Bass. Give them a follow on social media. You can find them on Twitter and Instagram. They've got a lot of experience. They're very passionate. They're committed to grooming great athletes at Boost Performance Training. Visit them online. BoostTrainingSystems.com is their website. They've got a strength and speed class, and the first one is always absolutely free. They got small group sessions so you can maximize your results. About 12 athletes per those small group sessions. Go check them out. Boost Performance Training in Corona with Coach Ray Bass. All right, Jeff, we got the Dodgers. They are in Philadelphia, taking on the Phillies again. Big win last night, 7-6. It was a close one, but they gutted it out. 4 solo home runs in that one. Already against the Phillies in the 4th inning, and the Dodgers are on top by a score of 2-0. Yasmani Grandal has a home run for the Dodgers. Kenta Maeda has now worked into the 5th inning. No runs, only 1 hit. Kenta Maeda looking great. A home run by Yasmani Grandal, and the Dodgers are up 2-0 in the top of the 5th inning against the Phillies. And, Jeff, one other thing I wanted to point out was Chase Utley is not in the starting lineup for the Dodgers. He was last night. He went 0 for 4, but he did kind of take on the role of the manager. He did bring out the lineup card to home plate before the game, and he got a standing ovation from the fans in Philadelphia. So that was a cool gesture by Dave Roberts to let him act as the manager, walk out the lineup card to home plate, and really soak in another moment from those Philly fans.
Well, I hope the Philly fans or the Philly brass, the bigwigs in the front office, do something nice for him, like the Lakers did with Kareem and Magic when those guys retired. Remember, I think they gave Kareem like a Rolls Royce. They should do something like that for Utley because, man, he really did mean a lot to that program for so long. It'd be nice to see them, other than wave or clap for him. They should do something nice for him. Maybe give him like a chair or a seat that he can sit in anytime he wants coming into the ballpark.
Yeah, he's a Southern California guy, but now he's always going to be linked to the city of Philadelphia because those teams, again, I dropped some names that, he was part of those Ryan Howard teams, the Jimmy Rollins teams. Pat Burrell was on those teams. They were really, really good. They had a great run there in Philadelphia, and Chase Utley was obviously a huge reason why. So they love him there in Philadelphia, and not that they're Eagles fans, but you're always a little concerned when a guy goes back, especially when he's currently on a team that's enjoying a lot of success. The Phillies haven't been the last couple of years, although this year they're back in the hunt for a playoff spot. But you look at the Dodgers, and they're like, oh, man, he's in Southern California now where it's always sunny, and he's by the beach, and the Dodgers are going to the World Series. I just think of Philly fans as like Eagles fans, and you go back to town, and it's like, oh, man, don't boo this guy. He's too good. Don't boo the Silver Fox. Everybody loves him in Philadelphia. Please don't boo this guy.
Yeah, that's always a big worry. If you go to Philadelphia, you're going to get batteries thrown at you, or worse. There's worse things to be thrown at you. But no, it's pretty cool to see them honor him correctly.
All right, so again, the Dodgers in Philadelphia, they're leading the Phillies right now by a score of 2-0 in the top of the 5th. Yasmani Grandal has a home run. Kenta Maeda working on a shutout thus far in this game. Let's see, the starting lineup, see if anything jumps out at me at the Dodgers, because they're on the East Coast, so they get started early, so I kind of miss my favorite part of the show. But let's see, Jock Peterson's leading off in left. Manny Machado is playing third base tonight. So, again, he's a shortstop by trade, I think, if you ask him, but he's a great third baseman as well. So we got Manny Machado playing third because Justin Turner has gone onto the disabled list with a groin injury. So Machado playing third. Max Muncy's at first base tonight. Yasmani Grandal's hitting cleanup behind the plate. Chris Taylor hitting 5th tonight. Chris Taylor probably hits in more different spots in the batting order than anybody else on this Dodgers lineup. He's at short tonight. Cody Bellinger is in center field. Kike Hernandez, he's playing second base tonight. And Alex Verdugo, who got called up to the bigs after Justin Turner, JT, went to the disabled list. He's in right field, so Matt Kemp is not in the starting lineup tonight, and Kenta Maeda on the mound. So kind of, again, another bizarre lineup, but when you're the Dodgers and you're Dave Roberts, you have a lot of options. You can do a lot of different things because you got a lot of players, Jeff. I mean, they could put guys in a variety of different spots. So I think if you're a Dodgers fan hoping to see some some continuity, that they're going to have this lineup that you can count on night in and night out, you're probably not going to get it because they've got a lot of great players who can play a lot of different positions. It's probably not going to be the same day after day.
No, it's not. And if you're a Dodger fan, you got to be happy. And I don't know if too many people are talking about this, but the Houston Astros, the world champs, have a record of 66-36. The Dodgers, though, are coming back. I'm telling you, they're 56-44. They have a shot. I'm worried about Houston. I'm not worried about Los Angeles right now because of that potent offense, but they're going to catch those guys. And that would be a big boost going into the postseason, hopefully making it to the World Series versus those Houston Astros.
Hey, and finally, one more baseball note in this segment. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame ceremony is coming up on Sunday in Cooperstown. And, of course, headlining that list for local fans here in the Inland Empire is Angels great Vladimir Guerrero. But, Jeff, my question for you is, when you think of Vladimir Guerrero, and I know you're an Angels guy, he's going into Cooperstown. He's going into the Hall of Fame as an Angel. But when I think of Vlad Guerrero, and I can't help this, maybe it's because I grew up in Northern California, but when I think of him as a Montreal Expo first, not an Angel. He's going into the Hall as an Angel, but do you think of him as an Angel when you first hear the name Vlad Guerrero?
Well, I do, just because I went to so many games and watched him, hit golf balls, basically. Remember, he would swing at everything that was low and would hit golf balls out of the stadium. A 9-time All-Star, 8-time Silver Slugger, MVP. I do think of him, though. If you boil it down to it, I always think of him as an Expo. But my heart is he was always an Angel and fun to watch play. But, man, what a great ambassador for the game of baseball and for the Hall of Fame.
And I'm looking at his career right now, stats. We got to wrap this up real quick, but yeah, he had like 5 monster seasons with the Expos, but he also had 5 monster seasons with the Halos as well. So it was almost kind of split in half. The Expos obviously aren't around anymore than the Nationals, so pretty cool to see the Halos have their first guy go into the Hall of Fame. When we come back on the Inland Sports Show, we're going to wrap things up. The Quakes are back in action tonight, so we'll get you all set for Rancho Cucamonga baseball right here on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. We'll be right back.
Focus on the customer here. Believe it or not, that is the biggest thing for customers on an oil change. They just want the convenience of coming in, driving in, getting it done, and driving out. Just greet them, get them going, and they're done in about 10 minutes or so. We don't push any sales on them. We do the oil change, and I think that's what sets us apart is our customer service. Vacuumed and cleaned your windshield for you as well. Everything's looking pretty good. come into us one time, believe me, we'll spoil you and you'll be ready to come back the next time.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. We're going to wrap things up here. Another great show. You just never know what you're going to get when you walk into the Inland Sports Show. We had Todd Gurley, 4-year extension with the Rams. Michael Beasley comparing himself, the newest Laker, to J.R. Smith and comparing himself to Nick Young. And then the Jordan Brand separating from Kawhi Leonard. What a bizarre, weird day here on the Inland Sports Show. It's all brought to you by Catalano Motors in Corona off of Temescal Canyon Road. You can buy, you can trade, and you can finance. And right now, when you mention the Inland Sports Show, you get $500 off. But that's only at Catalano Motors in Corona off of Temescal Canyon Road. Visit them online, CatalanoCars.com. That is the website. Mention the Inland Sports Show, save $500. Weekly specials that you already know you're going to save thousands of dollars at Catalano Motors in Corona off of Temescal Canyon Road. Jeff, tomorrow on the show, we will talk Pac-12 football. Pac-12 football will have their annual media day tomorrow. They will unveil their preseason Pac-12 football rankings. I'm very curious to see where they're going to stick UCLA because they've got their new head coach, Chip Kelly, who obviously has a lot of success in a lot of different places, including formerly at the University of Oregon. But I don't know. I think they're not going to have UCLA ranked very high. What's your hunch say in the next 60 seconds here?
I think they're still a year or two away. We're going to actually start seeing the benefits of having Chip Kelly recruit, and hopefully he gets a couple of these IE guys. But I think year 2 and year 3 will be very important for UCLA football and Chip Kelly.
Yeah, you know, UCLA with a new head coach in Chip Kelly, and you look across town at USC, and they're going to have a new quarterback. Sam Darnold's out of the picture. They're going to have a new running back. Ronald Jones also entered the NFL draft, so we're going to have Stephen Carr, the former Summit Skyhawk, carrying the load in the ground game. So we'll have a lot more answers come tomorrow at Pac-12 Football Media Day. Coming up in about 50 minutes, it's going to be at Rancho Cucamonga taking on the San Jose Giants. You can hear the Quakes all season long right here on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM. As for us, the Inland Sports Show, we will see you tomorrow, 3 o'clock. We'll talk high school football, Pac-12 football, and will Kawhi Leonard show up at USA Camp in Las Vegas? It's your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM.
Bye.